let me tell you how it goes. Everybody want a piece of the pot, to the money getting low, so they try to sell their soul. Put the money in the fame and the bitches, man, little do they know that the devil in control. About to take over your life like a puppet, it's a motherfucking show. It's a long ass road, and it's never going. Grab a seat, let me tell you how it goes. Let me tell you how it goes. Everybody want a piece of the pot, to the money getting low, so they try to sell their soul. Put the money in the fame and the bitches, man, little do they know that the devil in control. About to take over your life like a puppet, it's a motherfucking show. It's a long ass road, and it's never going. Grab a seat, let me tell you how it goes. Let me tell you how it goes. First off, let me get it out the way that I ain't never gonna go and sell my soul is down and tell her you should know. Don't give a fuck about the money or the glory or the bitches or the drugs and the goldie demons ripping out my throat. I ain't with it now, I'm screaming hell no. I'd rather stay at home and stay broke than cross the devil in a row. Bitch, I'm one of y'all just sheep and I'm the goat. I was sleeping for a minute, now I'm woke. Let me tell you how it goes. Thinking this a game, people really crazy doing anything for fame. Please just listen to my lyrics, take a thought of what I say. I swear they got these rappers goofy and they go against the grain. I'm enraged, getting K's for the killing of the game. Rappers lame, getting paid just to go put on a name for a chain and a label just to end up in the flames. It's a shame to see rap going up and down the drain, and I ain't about to let it. Nah, because if I don't say anything, I regret it. Got these lyrics in my brain, got me thinking that they're embedded in my noggin. I'm as sick as I'm starting an epidemic. They don't get it, and the way that they spitting is just pathetic. Read a sentence, it's off to a beat that ain't poetic, so forget it, stop rapping. Because the bottom where you headed, down and tell them when it's greasy, so you better get a medic. See, my enemy is breaking out, I'm falling into pieces, talking shit, I'm about to take him out. You rappers ain't competing, know the reason, get deleted. Down and tell them undefeated, I'm prestigious, and I'm all up in their mouth like orthopedic. Everybody wanna rap, but they ain't got what it takes. Wanna be MCs all around, this shit is fake, so they go and sell they soul for a chance to go reach the fame, but then regret it in the end because it wasn't worth the pain, huh? Little bitch.
Yeah, this one of them songs that make them feel good. Yeah. Looking in the mirror like what you
Ayo.
the only one stopping you right now is you. Yeah, I promise I'm a fight, working every single night.
Yes. Working. Ugh. Sorry. See? Good. Use. Looking good. Sorry. Awesome sauce. Just came back from my walk with my doggo. So it's very nice outside. Yeah. I actually still have some dog treats in my pocket. Cause like she's been, our dog hasn't been too good at like sitting down when we tell her to when cars are passing. So I gotta bait her with treats. Obviously she gets them every time she sits down when I tell her to, when cars are coming. But yeah. Her name is Happy, for anyone who didn't know. She's half Labrador, half China Münsterländer, and she's just the kindest dog you'll ever meet. She turns 9 years here the 1st of May. So, she's getting old. I'm sad about that. She can't live forever. I want her to live forever. She's the best dog ever. So yeah. I added my pronouns down here. Just so you won't, if you're new, you won't have to ask every time. But yeah, I hope you're having a good day today. I had a pretty... I was trying to say pretty and quite, so it was quite quitty. But my day's been pretty chill. Quite good. Excited for the book. Created a bit, if you will, for any assholes that come to chat. I'm excited to use that if I have to. There. Yeah. It is sunny outside. There's not really that much wind, so I could just walk like this with her. With Happy. It was a bit chilly for my arms, but I didn't freeze. It wasn't cold. It was just a bit chilly. This. Yeah. Okay, do this. Sorry, I'm fumbling with my camera right now. There we go. Peace. Yeah. One sec. Why is IKEA trending in politics on Twitter? And ADHD is trending in Denmark. I can understand why mass is trending in entertainment because of the whole wanting to remake, Hollywood wanting to remake a movie, a Danish movie that he was in with Leonardo DiCaprio. And people are kind of pissed about that because it's Danish. It's a Danish movie. You can't really capture the essence of it in English because, yeah. And besides, they're planning to do it, so why not just have Mads Mikkelsen star again in his own role? Because he starred in so many American movies as well, and British and series and everything. Like, if you want to make an English version of a Danish movie, just cast him again, because you'll get no one better to play his role. And the man can speak fluent English. The man speaks fluent English. Come on. I haven't watched it. I'm not too keen on watching Danish movies. I don't know why. I just aren't. I'm just not too keen on that. But yeah. Hydrate, don't hydrate. It is nice outside. I wish I could take you for an outside stream, but my computer needs to be plugged in. Plugged in the charger, so I can't really take you outside, even though the weather's nice. Anywho, yeah. We have pronouns down here, so you won't have to ask if you're new. I've seen a couple of streamers do that. Put their pronouns in the corner. Why are you saying bi or trans? Like, you can only be one or the other. There are a lot of people out there who are bi and trans. It doesn't have to be one or the other. But I'm not bi. I'm not bi, I'm lesbian. I am agenderqueer, but I don't consider myself trans like that. So. But yeah, we hit the 10 minutes mark, which means we're gonna start reading. Let's see, that was... oh, that was from yesterday. 20. And that's 21. Reading another 5 chapters today. Of The Brightest Night, book 5 in the Wings of Fire series for new people. Just gonna check how many pages there are in this chapter, because some chapters have been like 16 pages while others have been 6. So the stream length, it really depends on how long the chapters are as well. That's right in the middle of the that's kind of the normal. So. Anyway, chapter 21. This is awesome, Tsunami said. I'm so excited. Going to see my very favorite dragons in all of Pyria. Are you being glory now? Sunny asked, Queen of Sarcasm. I can be sarcastic too. She doesn't get to be queen of everything. Tsunami grumbled. She tilted her wings to do another sweep over the shoreline. They were on the eastern outskirts of the Mud Kingdom, on the edge of the Kingdom of the Sea. Below them, the ocean rushed up onto the beach and then back, wave upon white-topped wave. The sky was grey from edge to edge, and the air was wet with something that couldn't decide if it was mist or rain. It was dreary. Sunny missed the hot, dry desert. You couldn't even tell it was almost the middle of the day. The sun was well hidden behind those ranks of clouds. Her wings felt unpleasantly damp as she circled around behind Tsunami. Where is that blasted mudwing? Tsunami muttered, scanning the beach. I wish we hadn't had to bring him, Sunny said. I'm not convinced he really knows where he's going. I wish we could have brought our mudwing instead. Our mudwing doesn't know where the Talons of Peace camp is, Tsunami pointed out. Ochre supposedly does. Ochre was the disagreeable mudwing Sunny had met in the rainforest. It turned out he was one of the alternate dragonettes as well. So he'd grown up with the Talons of Peace and had agreed to go back to them and guide Sunny and Tsunami there. The other two options, Flame and Fatespeaker, had slightly more violent reactions. Fatespeaker had declared passionately that she wouldn't leave Starflight's side. She said he needed her, which gave Sunny another jealous twinge, and added that the Talons never particularly liked her anyway. Flame on the other Talon had thrown an entire bowl of mangoes at them and roared that he wasn't letting anyone see him with his face all destroyed. Least of all the Talons who'd just handed him over to the stupid Nightwings in the first place. So they were stuck with Ochre, which had meant 3 days of travel with a dragonette whom Sunny liked less and less. He was like the not funny, not adorable opposite of Clay, constantly hungry but in a pushy way instead of a sweetly embarrassed way. He'd even made himself a stack out of leaves with a handle of vines that he could hang over his neck, and he'd filled this with half the fruit in the rainforest as far as Sunny could tell. That way, he could eat and fly at the same time, dripping bright yellow and purple juice all over his brown scales and splattering the ground below them. And, incidentally, refusing to share, not that she wanted anything from a bag he'd drooled all over anyway. Besides, Tsunami added, Glory still needs Clay back at the camp to help with the Nightwings, especially if Queen Scarlet is on her way. I don't understand why she hadn't come after us yet, Sunny said with a shiver. She glanced down at her own small necklace, a pouch containing the dream visitor. They'd been using it for the last few days to check in with her friends back in the rainforest, but so far everything was quiet there. It made Sunny's scales feel wriggly and oversized, not knowing where Scarlet was and what she was plotting. Tsunami followed her gaze to the dream visitor pouch. We could have avoided this whole trip, she pointed out. Sunny shook her head. It's not safe. If we use the dream visitor to contact Blister, or even the Talents of Peace, or to check on Scarlet, they might catch a glimpse of the rainforest and realize where we are. Like I figured out the scavenger was when she dream visited me. Or Laurie said she caught a glimpse of the Weirdling Tower behind Scarlet too. We couldn't risk it. I know, Tsunami sighed. So here we are, looking for the Talents of Peace. Your favorite dragons, Sunny finished for her. I don't trust them, Tsunami added. That's why you're here, Sunny agreed. Because you think otherwise they might grab me and do something nefarious. Trapping us in an underground cave for 6 years comes to mind, Tsunami muttered. Sunny squinted at a dark shape winging out of the fog up ahead. That's Oko, right? And there's someone with him, Tsunami said, snapping her head up and frowning fiercely. A few someones. As the group of dragons came closer, she humphed with surprise. I've seen that dragon before, she told Sunny. The one in the lead, the sea wing with the black spirals in his scales. I saw him meeting with Riptide, the very first time I saw Riptide in the Kingdom of the Sea. I didn't realize at the time he was with the Talents of Peace. He's flashing something at us, Sunny pointed out. The sea wings glow in the dark scales, lighting up in some kind of pattern. Tsunami growled. If he's with the Talents, he should know that I don't understand aquatics, since he was probably one of the squid heads who made the decision not to teach it to me. Maybe I should go over there and thump him and then pretend I misunderstood what he was saying. I think he's suggesting we land, Sunny guessed, since all the approaching dragons were now veering down toward the beach. Well, sure, I could have figured that out, Tsunami said, but he didn't have to rub my snout in it, did he? She flapped on ahead and Sunny followed. They landed on the sand, which was wet and clumpy between Sunny's claws. Across from them were Oka and 5 dragons from the Talents of Peace. An ice wing, a sky wing, a sand wing, and 2 sea wings. One of them green with black spirals in his scales, and the other sky blue with dark blue horns. Oh. Okay. Sorry, I'm reading ahead. Wait, Sunny thought. I know that other sea wing. Riptide! Tsunami cried. The blue dragon's whole face lit up. You're alive, he said, stepping forward. That's far enough, said the other sea wing, flaring one wing in Riptide's way. Of course I am, Tsunami said to Riptide, ignoring the green dragon. What are you doing here with these? Sunny kicked her as hard as she could. Remember why we're here, Tsunami? No insulting the dragons, we're asking for help. Tsunami glared at her, but she seemed to get the message. With the Talents of Peace, she finished. Queen Coral threw me out, Riptide said sadly, furrowing lines in the sand with his claws. She considered killing me or imprisoning me again, but she said I fought bravely in the battle at the Summer Palace, so she let me leave with my life, and I didn't know where else to go. I thought the Talents might know where you were, but... He trailed off. But we had no idea, said the other sea wing in a clipped, cold voice. Tsunami gave him an incredulous look. You're not seriously mad at us, are you? Because, no, I'm mad at you. That's how this works. This is Nautilus, Riptide interjected quickly, the leader of the Talons of Peace. For now, growled the Skywing, flicking her red tail back and forth and glowering through a trail of smoke. Do you have the other dragonettes? She jerked her head at Ochre, who was munching his way through a banana and eyeing the seashells around his claws, as if he were wondering whether they might be edible too. We don't have them, Tsunami said. But we know where 2 of them are, Sunny added. Our friends helped them get away from the Nightwings. They didn't want to come back here though, Tsunami said. We offered. The Skywing scowled at her. Which 2? Is Viper one of them? Demanded the Sandwing. Uh-oh, Sunny thought. She shook her head, but before she could answer, the Icewing hissed. There's a dragon on its way. There's a dragon coming this way. They all turned and saw someone flying over the cliffs around the beach, high above their heads. The sun caught on red scales, and all the dragons on the sand tensed. Is it a Skywing scout? Or one of Ruby's soldiers? Or someone working for Byrne? Or Queen Scarlet? Sunny thought worriedly before she realized this dragon was smaller and a different color. He was also clearly heading toward them, as if he'd been watching them for a while. That looks like Flame, said the Skywing, squinting. But it can't be. What's wrong with his face? It might be Flame, Sunny said, glancing at Tsunami. He could have followed us. Maybe he changed his mind about coming back. Maybe he just didn't want to fly with us, Tsunami said. Or with him, anyway. She flipped her tail at Ochre. Flame, called the Skywing. Flame! The dragonette was soaring down toward the sand now when he heard his name. He faltered in mid-flight and nearly crash-landed on the dunes. Mother? He called back, wobbling upright again. The Skywing shoved past Tsunami and Sunny and caught Flame as he dropped toward her. She let out a roar at the sight of his face. What happened to you? Who did this? She wrapped her wings around him and pulled him close. Flame seemed to collapse into her, burying his head in her neck. Sunny heard muffled sobbing and felt a wrenching stab of pity for the Skywing dragonette. She'd only ever seen him his mean, prickly, grouchy side. But clearly, he could be someone else, someone who really cared about him. Let's see. Wow. Really? I'm not a moon. It's one of my pronouns I use. 3, 2, 1, and goodbye. Wow, okay. Thank you for respecting my pronouns. And there we go. Damn! They came June. Real fast. Wow. Yeah, they really need to do that. Oh dear. Do you really not know what pronouns are? Pronouns do not equal gender. Moon is one of my pronouns. It's not my gender. Seriously. It's a neopronoun. Look it up. Please. Okay. Your house, please. But hi, 7 circles of sin. Damn, none of my mods are here today. Anyway. Doesn't look like any of my mods are here today. So I'm pretty good. I was just out on a walk with my dog before streaming, so that was refreshing. I've had quite a lot of assholes come into my chat for quite a few streams now, so I'm kind of over letting them get to me. So, so don't worry there. I just kind of go silent a bit when I see their messages. Yeah. I just kind of go silent when I see their messages in chat. But then I just move on. I mean, obviously they don't know how to read, because you need to read and accept my chat rules before chatting, before typing in chat, so... So yeah. Anyway, that was a few minutes with having to deal with assholes, and then let's continue with reading. Anyhow, there. I miss my mother, she thought, wishing she had large warm wings wrapped around her right then. I guess I've already missed her. Thanks. I guess I've already missed her, but I miss her even more now that I know her. Thorn was so far away, on the other side of the continent. Sunny folded her wings back and lifted her chin. I'll see her again soon as this war is over. That's Avalanche, Riptide said quietly to Tsunami, nodding at Flame's mother. She's a spy, so she normally lives in the Sky Palace. And she left Flame here to keep him out of the war. He hesitated. She was away when Morosia came and took the dragonets. She was furious when she came back and found him gone. She nearly killed Nautilus. Nautilus shifted uneasily on his talons. Some dragons don't understand the things we have to do for peace, he said, but not in a way that sounded like he meant it. Do I want to know what happened to the others? He asked. Fate speak us fine, Sunny said, but we don't know what happened to Squid, and Viper is dead. The Sandwing across from her snarled and raised his venomous tail. How? An accident in the Night Kingdom, Tsunami answered. Viper was fighting and fell into some lava. It was a tail that did that to Flame's face. We need Morosia, Nautilus growled. Several of us would like to have words with him. Words and teeth and claws. And tails, added the Sandwing. He looked angry, but not devastated. Sunny wondered if he was an uncle instead of Viper's father, or something like that. Maricia's dead too, Sunny said, so we need your help. Oh, really? Said Nautilus. Suddenly the wonderful independent dragonettes need us. Don't be a rotting tooth, Tsunami said to him. If you want this prophecy fulfilled and this war stopped, you'll help us, so shut up. He opened and closed his mouth a few times, then settled for flashing something with his luminescent stripes that Sunny guessed she wouldn't want translated. We need to send a message to Blister, she said. You're the only ones we could think of who might be able to reach her. She's looking for you pretty seriously. Oh, that's okay, Elliot. She's looking for you pretty badly, Riptide said. You probably just have to stand out in the open for a day and she'll land on you. Right, sure, Tsunami answered, except we're trying to do this in a not ending up dead way. Fair enough, he said. Good idea, I support that plan. What do you want us to tell her? Nautilus asked. If we can get in touch with her. And if we agree to do this. Sunny looked him in the eye, knowing perfectly well that he'd do anything she said if it meant a chance at peace. He may have made some terrible decisions over the last 7 years, but she believed that he did care about one thing very much, and that was ending the war. Tell her to meet us on the 10th midnight from today, she said, in the entrance courtyard of the stronghold in the Kingdom of Sand. If she doesn't show up, she forfeits her chance to be queen. This is it? The Sandwing demanded. You're fulfilling the prophecy and choosing a queen? It's Blister? Come along and see, Sunny offered. Anyone who wants to. Bring all the towns of peace. If it goes the way it should, you won't be fugitives anymore. If Blister shows up and everything goes as planned, then the war will be over. We'll think about it, Nautilus said. But even he had an unmistakable undercurrent of excitement in his voice. It's important you tell her, Sunny insisted. We don't know how else to reach her. It's not like we're friends with her, Riptide said. Just so you know, it's not like the Talons of Peace are working with her, I swear. But you can find her, Tsunami asked. She sends one of her soldiers to the ruins of the Summer Palace pretty much every day, Nautilus said, hoping for a message from Queen Coral. That's how we'll reach her. Good, Tsunami said. Thank you, Sunny added. She turned to Tsunami. Then we'd better go, so we can send a message to the other two sisters. We only have 10 days now. Tsunami swept her tail through the sand and looked over at Riptide. I could come with you, he said hesitantly, as if he wasn't sure he'd be welcome. I think, Tsunami said, it'd be better if you stay and make sure Blister shows up at the stronghold. Then bring some of the Talons of Peace with you, and I'll see you there? He nodded, tilting his wings back with a hopeful expression. Alright, Tsunami said. See you soon. It sounded like a promise. Bye, Ochre, Sunny said, making one last effort to be friendly to the unlikable dragon. The Mudwing had gotten his claws stuck in a pineapple as he tried to peel it and was now trying to shake it off. Have a nice knife. Yeah, he muttered. He accidentally whacked himself in the snout with the top of the pineapple and yelped with pain. Tsunami and Sunny rolled their eyes at each other and lifted off into the sky. They flew over Flame and his mother, still wrapped around each other on the beach. Sunny felt another jab of pity, although she knew the Skywing Dragonette didn't want to be seen that way. She glanced back as they reached the edge of the beach and saw that the other dragons had turned to leave, but Riptide was still staring after them. Are you alright? Sunny asked Tsunami. I mean, about Riptide? Have you forgiven him for lying about being a Talon? Tsunami gave her a rueful look. It's complicated. she said. I hate being lied to, and the Talons are the worst. But when I saw that he was alive, I was just really, really happy. Is that weird? No, Sunny said. I know what you mean. I'll see how I feel after the war is over, Tsunami said. When everything is a little more normal. Not that we know anything about normal or what that's supposed to look like, right? But then I think, well, we'll see. I hope Blister shows up, Sunny said as they soared up over the cliffs. I hope this works. It will, Tsunami said confidently. We'll get all 3 sisters to the stronghold. I'm not worried about that. What happens once we're there, though, that part worries me quite a lot. End of chapter 21. Start hydrating, people. Yeah. Those 3 are already banned, so... yeah. Some of them just didn't know about neo-pronouns and thought to make fun of it and say, oh, you're not a moon. I'm like, of course I'm not. That's not what it means. These are pronouns, not gender. I mean, I made gender queer, but my pronouns are they, moon. There are websites you can look at to get it explained that gender does not equal pronouns, and pronouns does not equal gender. But yeah. So thank you for coming. Let's see how many chapters. Wow. Let's see how many pages are in this chapter. That's what I wanted to say. 3, 7, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 16 and a half. This is a long chapter, everyone. Chapter 22. In some ways, Burn and Blaze should have been easier to send a message to, but they both had a fixed home base. Burn had a stronghold, Blaze in her fortress in the Ice Kingdom. But Sunny was not about to waltz into either place, and she didn't want to send anyone she knew to face him. She didn't trust Burn or Queen Glacier not to kill the messenger. After a lot of arguing, though, Glory had offered a solution for Blaze. Send the Rainwing disguised as an Icewing to pass the message along. Send me, was her actual suggestion. I could be there and back in a couple of days. Absolutely not, Deathbringer had said. You are the dragon holding this rainforest together. 2 tribes depend on you. If anything happens, you're leaving chaos behind, and Blaze will probably recognize you. True, Clay had agreed, but you could send someone else. Maybe Jumbo? He's been there before, Sunny pointed out. He knows where Blaze's fortress is. He already changed his scales to look like an Icewing, so he should be able to do it again. Glory snorted. As long as he doesn't fall asleep or get distracted by something shiny. Or I could go, Deathbringer offered. I know where it is too. Absolutely not, Glory had echoed back at him. Only half teasing. Remember the part where you tried to kill Blaze? You're the last dragon she'd trust. Glacier probably has soldiers prepared to kill you on sight. She's probably told them to kill any Nightwing who comes along, just in case it's you. Aww, Deathbringer said. You'd totally care if I live or die, too. Sunny could practically see the struggle in Glory's scales as she tried to stamp out any bits of pink that were trying to sneak through. Well, sure, she said. A dead messenger wouldn't do us much good after all. Deathbringer laughed, and Sunny realized that he was deliberately provoking Glory because he liked the way she shut him down. If that's what he's looking for in a dragon, she thought, he certainly picked the right one. Send Jumbo and Mangrove, Sunny suggested. They both know the way, and they can keep an eye on each other. Everyone had agreed to this plan, including Jumbo and Mangrove. But Sunny still felt anxious as she watched the two Rainwings slip into the tunnel that led to the Kingdom of Sand. It was the day she and Tsunami got back from the tunnels of Peace. The flight had taken them 3 days with almost no stops. 7 to go, she thought. Be safe, Glory said to them. That's an order from a queen. Yes, Your Majesty, Jumbo answered, grinning in a way that suggested he just liked saying those words, not that he was actually listening. Stay camouflage as much as you can the whole way there. And you don't have to go into the fortress, or even all the way to the fortress. If you find an Icewing patrol before you get there, tell them to tell Blaze, and then you come home. Right away, understand? Yup, said Mangrove, we still understand. Like we did 5 minutes ago when you last explained it. And 5 minutes before that, and alright. Go away, Glory said, flicking her tongue out at them. Remember to tell them that she has to show up, Sunny called, or else she doesn't get to be queen. Make sure that part of the message gets to Glacier. She was least sure about Blaze, who seemed perfectly happy to hide in her fortress and let other dragons do all the fighting for her. If she was going to show up, Sunny had a feeling it would be only because Queen Glacier dragged her there. As soon as their tails had disappeared, Sunny turned to Clay. Ready? Sure, Clay said. I mean, I've eaten breakfast. What else do I need to do? Ooh, maybe some more breakfast. That's a good idea. Sunny laughed, and soon the two of them were aloft, soaring north through the rainforest toward the Mud Kingdom. Do you think anyone will listen to us? Clay asked after they'd flown for a while. The landscape below was shifting from jungle to swamp, with shorter trees and brownish-green ponds visible here and there. In the distance to their right, they could see a shimmer of water that had to be the big lake. That's where Queen Mohine's place was. They were definitely not going there. Sunny tilted her wings to the west, heading for the mountains. I think someone will listen, she said. We just have to find the right someone. A Mudwing patrol, I think. Not Skywings or Sandwings. I bet they'll listen to you anyway. As far as she was concerned, Clay could talk anyone into anything, because anyone could see that he was sincere and wanted the best for everybody. Clay rumbled nervously deep in his throat. Maybe we don't have to do this. Maybe Byrne will stay in her stronghold and just be there when we get there. She's more likely to go out again looking for another battle, Sunny said. She thought for a moment, then added, or looking for us. No, we have to make sure she'll be there in 7 days, or this won't work. They found a sheltered grove of pines at the foot of the mountains where they could sleep that night. There had been surprisingly a few dragons out that way, a few solitary scouts, and some 2 dragon patrols, but Shani had decided to avoid them all. She wanted to get farther away from Queen Mohine's palace, just in case anyone tried to drag her and Clay back there. She'd expected to see more soldiers out and about, though. It was a little unsettling how quiet the skies were. Clay was thoughtfully watching the stars as she curled up against him in the dark. Sonny, he whispered, I know I'm bad at remembering stuff, but Pyria only has 3 moons, right? Of course, she whispered back. Why? That thing over there, he said, pointing with one of his wings. It looks kind of like a moon coming this way. Sunny followed his gaze to a glowing shape in the sky. It was bigger than the other stars, although not quite as big or round as the moon. She couldn't remember ever noticing it before. Freaky, she said. I wonder what it is. Not one of the regular moons. Look, you can see all of the others. There, and over there, right on the edge of the mountains. None of them were full, but 2 of them were more than halfway there and filled the sky with light. I might fly up the mountain a ways and take a closer look, Clay said. Is that alright? Sure, Sunny said, sitting up. I'll come with you. They climbed higher and higher, looking for a clear view of the sky, and finally stopped on a ledge not far from the peak. Clay seemed almost entranced by the strange new thing in the sky, and so was Sunny, who looked down and gasped and grabbed his arm and pointed. Clay, look, she whispered. The valley below them was dotted with fires, almost like a lake reflecting the stars above. But they could clearly see the shapes of dragons gathered around those fires, and the glint of weapons being polished and sharpened and ready for battle. That's where they all are, Sunny whispered. The Mudwings are gathering for something. This must be almost their whole army. Clay stared down at them, his tail twitching. That could have been him down there, she realized. If there had been no prophecy, he'd have grown up like any ordinary Mudwing. He'd have led his brothers and sisters into battle. He'd have fought and died for Queen Moheen, and by extension, her ally Bern. They're planning something big, Clay said. I wonder how soon. Let's go find out, Sunny suggested, spreading her wings. But he started. I'm just a sandwing, she said. I could be your ally. In the dark, maybe no one will look twice at my tail. She curled up in the imitation of a scorpion-like way the sandwings often held their tails. After some arguing, she won the debate, and they flew down to the Mudwing camps as cautiously and quietly as they could move. There didn't seem to be any guards on the outskirts, and they slipped in among the fire camps on the silent feet. Many of the dragons around them were sleeping, although Sunny saw at least one member awake in each small group. She remembered what she'd learned about Mudwings in Clay's home village. Each troop was made up of brothers and sisters, who fought alongside one another through thick and thin, led by whichever one was the biggest, their bigwings. Someone here could pass a message to Bern, she whispered to Clay. But how do we decide who? And what if they're all going off to battle tomorrow? Do you think we can stop them? She had to hurry to keep up with Clay's longer strides. He was pacing purposely through the camp, studying each group of dragons, and she wasn't sure he was even really listening to her. Oh, she thought, I'm an idiot, of course. Of course he was looking for his brothers and sisters. He'd only met them once, but they were often on his mind. He'd wondered aloud about them several times in the last few weeks. Sunny hadn't met them, so she couldn't help him search, but she stayed close on his heels as they walked through the camp, which was even bigger than it had looked up up the mountain. Here and there she spotted sandwings and skywings as well, which made her feel less conspicuous at least. Suddenly Clay stopped and blocked her path with his tail. He nodded at a group of 5 dragons clustered around a fire, drawing formation plans in the dirt. Is that them? Sunny asked softly. He nodded, then started forward again. Read, he whispered from the shadows. Shh, don't call out. It's Clay. All 5 dragons whirled toward him, and he stepped into the circle of light. Clay! Clay! Yelped the smallest one quietly. He jumped over the fire and bounced around Clay, stepping on his talons a few times by accident. Hey, Umber, Clay said affectionately, punching the little dragon gently on the shoulder. Everyone, this is Sunny. Reed is the Bigwings. My sisters are Sora and Pheasant, and my 3rd brother is Marsh. Hi, Sunny whispered to all of them, nodding at each of the trusting brown-eyed faces. It's great to finally meet you. The way they looked at Clay, there was a bit of terrifying hope there, as if they were expecting him to come with extra fireproof scales to protect them all. Are you alright? Reed asked. He was almost, but not quite, as big as Clay, and he held his head up and shoulders back as if he were very aware that he shouldn't have been their bigwings. But he too looked at Clay with hope rather than envy or worry. We've been wondering. We've heard rumors. Oh, we're fine, Clay said. Indestructible. Don't you worry. He grinned at Reed, nudging his side. What's all this? Why are you here? The 5 Mudwings exchanged looks, as if they weren't sure whether to answer that question. Would it be treason to their queen, or loyalty to their brother? Reed was the one who nodded. Yes, tell them. A huge offensive, Pheasant said, her voice shaded with anxiety and fear and resignation. Wipe out as many ice wings as we can in one huge sweep, and hope we kill Blaze while we're at it. Queen Mohine is leading us herself, said Reed, and Queen Ruby is supposed to bring her troops over to attack from the north. The order that came down was we keep fighting as long as any enemies are left alive. Take no prisoners, Sora Ann whispered, shuddering. Kill everyone. Burn wants to end the war fast, before you guys mess anything up, Umber added. That's the word going around the camp anyway. And as long as the Sea Wing's still in hiding, she can focus all her energy on the Ice Kingdom, Reed explained, on destroying them. Every last Ice Wing, Marsh finished, unless we all die first. He stared into the flames of their campfire. The 3 moons were not enough to combat the dark that was pressing in around them, like shadow wings folding over their heads. The fire flickered and spat, illuminating amber underscales and dark brown tails in waves of orange light. You can't do that, Sunny said. She could hear her voice shaking. All of you against the Ice Wings? You really might wipe them out. The entire tribe. And so many of you will die trying, Clay said, reaching one wing around Umber. It's so cold in the Ice Kingdom. We were there just on the outskirts, and it was freezing. Imagine how much worse it'll be right in the heart of it. Or up by Glacier's palace. Hundreds of dragons will freeze to death. You mustn't. He broke off, clearing his throat. Marsh and Sora shuffled closer to him and he spread his other wing to go awkwardly around them as well. He's right, Sunny said. This is a suicide mission. Suicide or genocide. Those are your only 2 outcomes. Clay, we can't let this happen. What else can we do? Reed demanded. We're part of an army. These are orders. Orders from their queen. From our queen. You could run away, Clay said. Come with us. We'll hide you. We can, but you know that's not good enough, Sunny said to him. We have to stop this from happening at all. There's 5 of us against Queen Mohine, Queen Ruby, and all of Byrne's army, Reed pointed out. Who's going to listen to us? I'm sure you're not the only ones who are worried, Sunny said. She twisted to look at the fires all around them and wondered how many of the sleeping dragons were caught in nightmares about battles to come. Nightmares. She touched the pouch around her throat. A possible idea was starting to come to her. When are you supposed to attack? Clay asked. We move out tomorrow morning, Pheasant answered. A few days to cross the mountains and the desert. Those who make it. And then we'll be at the Ice Kingdom. So we have to do something about it now, Sunny said, standing up and pacing around the fire. Where's Queen Mohine? Is she here? Do you know? Reed and the others looked alarmed, apart from Umber, who looked excited. You can't just go talk to the Queen, Reed said. She'll never let you get away. Thank you, follow. She'll never let you get away. There are orders to capture you all if anyone sees you, although everyone's looking for 5 dragonets together, and most dragons don't know what you look like. But if you walk right into her camp, you might as well put on your own chains. Neither. I'm agenderqueer. We're not going to do that, Sunny promised. I have a plan. A sort of a plan. Something worth trying anyway, so which way is she? Umber flicked his tail toward the center of the camp. Right in the middle of everything, he said. Like a real big wings. Please don't kill her, Sora said softly. She's not a bad queen. We're not going to, Clay assured her. We would never. We won't do that. We'll be back, Sunny promised them. She plunged into the darkness with Clay close behind her, weaving between fires again. Do you really have a sort of plan? Clay asked. Because I have no plan. Except maybe a throwing up I'm so nervous. Plan. I do, Sunny said, curling her claws around the dream visitor. I just have to see the queen and make sure she's sleeping. Oh, Clay said. Aha. He took the lead, adjusting their direction, and soon they saw a brightly burning circle of fires ahead of them. Wide-awake guards were posted between the fires, staring alertly out at the camp and up at the sky. Okay, whatever. You clearly didn't read the chat rules either.
Have to keep waiting, I gotta be patient. What's up with all these people hating? Yeah.
Okay. Do you know where I live? Since you're so keen on sending this Packy Keith on me. Do you know where I live? No, then you can't really do much, can you? No one is telling kids they're transgender, by the way. Kids can figure out themselves. Oh, I'm not actually the gender I was assigned at birth. I'm not the one people want me to be. I'm not who people want me to be. And there's nothing you can do about it. You said it, Blue. How long until this chapter? Okay, 5. But beyond the gods, they could see a huge dragon as big as Marozia, curled in a slumbering ball. Firelight reflected off her russet scales and caught the glitter of gemstones on her ankles and head. The spines on her back moved slowly up and down as she breathed. That's gonna be a bit hard, ain't it? Clustered around her were 4 other dragons, all smaller than her, all glittering with gems and sleeping as well. Her brothers and sisters? Sunny guessed. They stopped well out of sight of the guards, studying the royal camp. Clay nodded. I think so, he grinned. If Starflight were here, he could tell us all their names and personal histories, and what they each eat for breakfast every day. Alright, you were just fat shaming. Which means you are going to be banned. Bye-bye. If you don't know how to act properly, if you don't know how to act, yep, and goodbye to you too. If you don't know how to act like a decent human being, then just don't say anything at all. Seriously. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Man. My weight ain't even that bad. Like, I know I'm overweight. This is a genetic thing for me, which means it's even harder for me to keep the weight off. The ones who are pigs here are the ones who fat shame people. There. Sunny grinned back, although inside her stomach felt as though she was trying to eat herself. It was trying to eat itself. I remember one thing I read, she said. It said that no Mudwing Queen has ever been challenged by a sister. Only daughters. I didn't understand it then, but I do now. In your tribe, brothers and sisters are always loyal to one another. A sister would never try to take the throne from her bigwings. Clay nodded. That feels right to me, he said. Sunny stared at the queen, trying to memorize her features, or what she could see of them. Would this work? Was she really going to risk it? The image of hundreds of Icewing corpses flashed through her head. Of course I am. Struck by another idea, she studied all the queen's brothers and sisters as well. She wondered how many times the dream visitor could be used in one night. All right, she said, pulling Clay away. They chose the darkest patch of shadows they could find outside the camp, with the mountains looming over them. Maybe you should be the one to do this, she whispered to Clay, trying to pass him the dream visitor. He shook his head and pushed it back to her. You've used it before, and you'll know what to say. And if it's me, well, she might think it's a normal dream, just another Mudwing voicing her inner anxieties or something. But if it's you, she'll know it's real. A real message from the Dragonettes, because nobody else looks like you. That's true, Sunny thought. And then Riley. So remember, there is a good reason to look this weird after all. So maybe there is a good reason to look this weird after all. You can do it, Sunny. You can do it, Sunny, Clay said. I'm completely sure. He twined his tail with hers, and she felt a tiny bit less terrified. Sunny cupped her talons around the dream visitor and held it to her head, closing her eyes. She'd only ever used it on her friends. Please let this work, she prayed. She thought of the huge brown dragon she'd just seen. Queen Maheen, let me in. After a long moment, she opened her eyes and found herself standing ankle-deep in mud. Mud stretched around her in an endless warm swamp, dotted with mangroves and dozing crocodiles. The sun was high above them in a hazy sky, and insects buzzed through long cattails. Sunny turned in a circle and spotted Queen Maheen pacing across a dry island that stuck out in the mud. Several scrolls were scattered around her talons, many of them covered in brown splatters, and a large map appeared which scratched into the dirt. The queen lashed her tail and drew long lines with her claws across the mountains, furrowing them through the sketched out kingdom of sand, and then slashing furiously at the corners of the map that represented the Ice Kingdom. She stopped, shook her head, and glanced down at the mud. With a jolt of horror, Sunny realized that there were dead bodies lying half submerged around the Queen's island. She recognized at least a few of them as one of the Queen's brothers, who had been sleeping nearby in the royal camp. This is a real nightmare. She might not be able to hear me, But Sunny had to try. She waded through the mud, which felt gloppily against her scales, and clambered up onto the island behind the Mudwing Queen. Moheen whirled around and stared at her. Sunny spread her talons. I'm harmless, she said. I'm here to talk. Here? Now? The Queen demanded. Can't you see I'm in the middle of a campaign, and everyone is dying, and it's all my fault, and I can't save them? She slashed her claws across the kingdom of sand and turned to look down into the mud again. Her wings trembled and she lowered her snout to the closest corpse. No, no! I command you not to die! This is a dream, Sunny said firmly and loudly. You're only dreaming. I promise you. The Queen drew back from the corpse. She said. It's a nightmare, Sunny said. But they're not dead. Your brothers and sisters are asleep right beside you in the camp. They're safe, at least for now. What does that mean? Queen Moheen asked. Her voice sounded less strained as her wings were relaxing. Is that a threat? Not at all, Sunny said hastily. I want them to be safe too. I want all your subjects to be safe. That's why I'm here. The Queen looked up at the sky, then around at the swamp, down at the map and back at Sunny. This is really a dream? Then how are you here? Old magic, Sunny said. But that's not important. Do you know who I am? I have a guess, said the Queen. Shouldn't there be 5 of you? There are 5 of us, Sunny said, but I'm the one here talking to you. I'm here to tell you not to attack the Ice Kingdom. Not tomorrow, not ever. Too many dragons will die if you do, on both sides. Is that an omen? Queen Moheen asked. Did your Nightwing tell you that? You know it doesn't take a Nightwing prophecy to see that future, Sunny said, touching one claw lightly to the scratched up map beside her. You know how many of your dragons you'll lose. The Queen drew a line in the dirt in front of her. But then the war will be over, and perhaps that'll be worth it. Byrne has promised us immunity from attack for the next 100 years if we help her win. If we don't, she'll destroy us. She is a powerful enemy, little Sandwing. A lot more powerful than you, and she has an army. And she's an enemy I don't intend to make. You don't have to, Sunny said, thinking. That's how Byrne got her alliance? Her Mudwing alliance? With intimidation and threats? So Queen Moheen joined the war to protect her dragons. It sounds backwards, but I can see it. We're going to end the war. We have a message for Byrne. Meet us at midnight in 7 days' time in the main courtyard of her stronghold. If you can tell her to do that instead of attacking the Ice Wings, we'll find a way to stop the war. And you can come too. We want everyone to see that this is the end of the fighting. No more dragons have to die. Queen Moheen tilted her head with a skeptical expression. It sounds like a tale from one of the Sea Wing Queen's silly romantic scrolls. What are you planning to do? You'll see, Sunny said. Just be there. Be there instead of watching your dragons die in the Ice Kingdom. Bring the Skywings too. Everyone who wants this war to be over. The Queen nodded slowly. I'll think about it. Are you choosing Byrne then? We're choosing peace, Sunny said. That's the important thing. That sounds like you're avoiding the question, Moheen pointed out. Does it matter? Sunny asked. As long as the war is over? The Queen thought for a long moment and then sighed. Perhaps not. Make sure Byrne is there, Sunny said. It's important. It sounds like it, said the Mudwing Queen. She brushed her tail over the map of Pyria, erasing it and all the agonized claw marks she'd drawn on it. I'll see what I can do. That sounded a little ridiculous to Sunny. If this Queen of the Mudwings couldn't do as she'd asked, then what chance did anyone have? But she didn't say that. She bowed and stepped away. Thank you, Your Majesty, she said instead. Good luck, said the Queen. You're very small to be in charge of saving the world. And weird looking, Sunny agreed. But we can do it if everyone helps. Queen Moheen pulled her wings in close and stared down at the mud-covered bodies of her brothers and sisters all around her. Maybe. As Sunny lifted the dream visitor away from her head, stepping out of the dream, she thought she heard the queen whisper one last thing. I hope so. End of chapter 22. Time for that sweet, sweet hydration, people. That was a long ass chapter. Let's hope the rest of the chapters aren't that long. So, yeah. Let's go there. 12, 13. Well, it's not as long, but it's still a bit longer than the usual chapter. Chapter 23. Sunny was tired of visiting the queen's dreams, but she made herself step into the dreams of the royal siblings next. 3 brothers and 1 sister, all of them having similar anxiety dreams, most of them about Queen Moheen dying in some awful way. One of the brothers was having such a terrible nightmare that Sunny wasn't able to get through to him at all, but the others saw her and then seemed to listen to what she said. They each answered that it was up to Queen Moheen to make the decision, but Sunny had a feeling the queen would listen to her siblings more than any other advisors she might have. And if they could persuade her, well, it was worth the chance. After that, she and Clay were walking back through the camp, past so many sleeping dragons. She stopped brushing his wings with hers. We can do more, she said. Not all of them, but if even a few dragons talked about having dream messages from us, maybe that'll make a difference. Aren't you tired? Clay asked. You look like you haven't slept in a week. There had been a lot of exhausting flying lately, more than she was used to, and all she wanted was to curl up under Clay's wing and sleep for the next month. Sorry. But that was not an option. I can do it, she assured him. Let me do some too, he said, holding out his talons. You can rest while I do that. They chose sleeping dragons at random, standing in the shadows nearby and drooping and dropping lightly into their dreams. Most of them were nightmares. There were nightmares all through the camp. Sometimes Sunny could break through and show them they were dreaming, and then they would listen. She kept her messages brief. The war is almost over. No more killing. Don't go to the Ice Kingdom. The war will soon be over. You can help. Stop fighting. Spread the word. They found Reed and the others again as early morning light was beginning to creep across the camp. Umber, Marsh, and Sora were fast asleep in a pile of tails and wings, but Pheasant and Reed were awake, watching for them with matching anxious expressions. We did our best, Clay whispered, pressing their talons in his. Hopefully you'll get new orders soon. But we should go before we're seen, Sunny said. Do you want to come with us? Clay asked. Reed sighed and looked at his sleeping brothers and sister. No. I mean, I do, but we are loyal to the Queen, and we don't want to be fugitives. I wish I could at least give you Umber or Marsh, but they won't leave the rest of us. We stick together. That's our way. I'm sorry, Clay said reluctantly. I wish I could stay. If you do have to fight, I wish I could be there with you. Me too, Reed admitted in a low voice. Pheasant shook her head but didn't say anything. She nudged the others awake and they each hugged Clay goodbye. See you soon, Sunny said, trying to sound more hopeful than she felt. Be safe, Clay said. I'm glad you have Reed. He wrapped his wings around his brother again, and then he and Sunny hurried off through the camp, toward the safety of the mountains. They stayed on the ground, afraid that the guards would spot them if they flew this close to the camp. Most of the campfires were now just dying embers, but a few had been rebuilt, and the smell of roasting meat and smoke floated through the pre-dawn air. Birds fluttered and chirped in the trees at half-hearted intervals, as if they weren't sure they should be awake yet. Sunny's eyes ached, and her wings had never felt heavier. They had reached the scrub bush on the hills overlooking the camp when Sunny heard a different sound coming from behind them. Not the rustling and stamping of dragons or the clanking of weapons. She heard singing. Oh, the dragonettes are coming. Clay? She whispered, did you hear that? Am I imagining it? She stopped and lifted his head to listen. They're coming to save the day. Voices in the camp below, more than one, in different parts of the camp. The Mudwings were singing. They're coming to fight, for they know what's right. It was the eerie version they'd last heard in the Sky Palace, not the usual rousing bar song that Tsunami used to sing around the cave whenever she wanted to annoy the Guardians. Sunny had been trapped in her birdcage alone, on display above the banquet Scarlet was holding for Burn. But everyone there had heard it, the sound of the prisoners singing, echoing over the cliffs in the night. Sunny could remember the shivery, hopeful feeling it had given her, and she also remembered the expressions on some of the soldiers' faces. Hope, dread, longing, most of them much more complicated than the pure fury visible in Scarlet and Burn. She felt it again now. The sand trickling across her scales, all the way down her spine. Those dragons singing, those were the dragons who believed in them. They were the reason she and her friends had to do this. I hope we can do this. I really, really hope we can do this. She glanced up at Clay, who smiled at her. Just being near him made her feel like anything was possible. Clay was so real and solid and dependable and kind. He would always be there. Clay had kept all of them from killing each other as they grew up under the mountain, trapped with only one another and their guardians. If he hadn't been there, would they have been more like the alternates, the fake dragonettes of destiny, who'd hated one another? Could Tsunami, Glory, and Starflight have turned out that way, hostile and aggressive and angry all the time, if they hadn't had Clay to keep them together? Would Sunny have ended up like Fatespeaker, clinging to a belief in the friendship and loyalty that didn't exist? But that hadn't happened. They had Clay, and he stopped them from fighting too much, and he made jokes when everyone was sad, and he made them care about one another, and he believed in all of them. He'd made them a family, even though they were from different tribes. He really is our big wings. Let's go back to the others, she said, and he nodded, and soon they were winging their way back to the rainforest. 6 more days. We can do this. She's not coming? Sunny cried. What do you mean she's not coming? A shower of raindrops pattered over her wings, sending pink and red hibiscus flowers whirling down past her toward the ground far below. Jumbo shook his head, looking very literally blue from horns to tail. We tried, but every ice wing we talked to basically just laughed at us. They said Blaze never leaves the fortress and won't go until Glacier lets her go, which will be when Vern and Bliss are dead. They know if she gets near one of her sisters, she's dead, Mangrove said. She doesn't stand a chance in the challenge duel. Then why do the Ice Wings support her? Glory said crossly. Don't they want the Sandwings to have a strong queen? No, of course they don't, she answered herself, figuring it out as she spoke. In one kingdom they share a border with. Wouldn't it be great if it happened to be ruled by a vain, silly dragon who was totally in debt to them and did everything their queen ordered? Maddening for us, but sensible for them. When Glacier knows what she's doing. Unless she loses, like if Blaze happened to die somehow, in which case she'd have to deal with Burn right on her border, all enraged and looking for vengeance. Alright, yes, I can see why they'd keep her safely locked away. Locked up 3 moons. That was like watching her brain work out. That was like watching her brain work on the outside of her head, Fatespeaker said to Starflight. Well, we can't let her stay locked up, Sunny said. It's not going to work unless all 3 sisters are there, right? Don't you agree? Yes, Glory said, and Tsunami and Starflight nodded as well. If what you want is to forge a peace treaty, all the combatants need to be present to agree to it. Glory scratched his snout, thinking. Perhaps it would be enough to have Queen Galatia there, but I don't think so. Galatia would know that it would look like weakness to come in her place and let Blaze stay in hiding. Safer for neither of them to show up. But doesn't Queen Galatia want the war to end too? Sunny said. I'm sure she does. I'm especially sure she would if she knew that Baron and the Mudwings were planning a few days ago. If she knew what they were planning a few days ago, even if they put off their invasion plans for now. Are we sure about that? Starflight asked. They're really not invading? Doesn't look like it, Glory said. On her shoulder, her sloth woke up, chirped sleepily, and tucked itself closer to her wing before closing its eyes again. We've dream visited with Clay's brother and also sent out scouts to check. It seems like that Mudwing camp is in a holding pattern. No one flying off to kill Icewings, at least for now. Queen Lahine is waiting to see what happens at the stronghold, Sunny said, shaking loose flowers off her wings. Which means our plan really has to work, or else the invasion might still happen. Maybe if we could tell Queen Galatia that she'd let Blaze come. Maybe, Tsunami said, but we can't get to the Queen if she's in her ice palace. That would not be safe. Not that it would be safe to go talk to her no matter where she is. But none of us have seen her, so we can't even dream visit her. But we can dream visit Blaze, Sunny said. I think that's what we have to do. Glory, you should do it. You're really convincing. Glory looked down at the sapphire as Sunny passed it to her. She thought for a moment, then shook her head. No, she won't listen to me. She kept saying I shouldn't be part of the prophecy, remember? She wouldn't take me seriously. And she's jealous of Glory, Deathbringer interjected. Blaze doesn't like any dragons prettier than she is. Which Glory is. Not that I've noticed myself personally, it's just a fact. Aww. Enough of you, Glory said, folding her wings in, but not before Sunny spotted the hints of pink blooming around the edges. I've already said you can be the Nightwing liaison, so flattery won't get you anywhere else, Mr. Clever Scales. It's not flattery to state the obvious, he said. It should be Sunny or Tsunami, Glory said, ignoring him and passing the sapphire back into Sunny's talons. Tsunami actually got wounded trying to save her, so she might be impressed by that. But then, Tsunami is about as diplomatic as a starving rhinoceros, so I'd probably vote for Sunny. I beg your pardon? Sunny objected. I can be very diplomatic when I want to be. I'm sure, Glory said. Any other votes? As each of them voted for her, Sunny felt as though her own scales might turn pink. You're such a bunch of, Tsunami sputtered. Frag-faced globs of camel spit? Sunny suggested. Tsunami started laughing so hard she nearly fell off the branch. Alright, fine, she said, recovering at last. I don't see how I compete with that kind of mastery of language. But then you should use the dream visitor to talk to your mother, Sunny said. Or to someone in your kingdom. Some sea wings should come to the stronghold if any of them are willing to see what happens. Tsunami nodded, bumping Sunny's shoulder affectionately. I can do that. I'd like to check on Anemone anyway. That night, Sunny took the dream visitor and flew to the pool by the tunnels. She chose the tunnel that led from the Kingdom of Sand to the rainforest. The one that led to the Night Kingdom, smelled of burnt scales and fire, and still radiated heat. She crouched in the darkest part of the tunnel, where it was pitch black. There was nothing around her to offer a clue about where she was. Even if the dream visitor gave the dreamer a glimpse of her, all she would see was blackness. Hopefully Blaze would think she was in a cave in the mountains or if anything. She closed her eyes and held the blue sapphire to her head again. It hummed in a strange way, like faraway chanting faintly heard through layers of rock. Blaze! Sunny pictured the beautiful Sandwing. They'd only met once in the Ice Kingdom. Later, she'd overheard Tsunami describing Blaze to Kinkaju. She's pretty but silly, one of those overly optimistic dragons, like Sunny is sometimes, although Blaze is more self-centered. This comparison had made Sunny want to shred a tree with her bare claws. She was nothing like Blaze, and if Tsunami thought so, then she really must think Sunny was an idiot with no brains in her head at all. Don't think about that now. Concentrate on getting into Blaze's dreams, she thought, and then she opened her eyes and realized she was already there. She stood in the desert, claws sinking into warm sand. Blaze was flying, her polished scales shimmering in the bright, hot sunlight. She shone against the clear blue sky, and beautiful jewels sparkled all along her scales. She kept circling in the air and twisting her head to look down, not far from where Sunny was, but she didn't seem to notice Sunny at first. Sunny lifted herself onto her back talons to look around and spotted a clear pool of water not far away. Blaze was admiring herself in the perfectly still reflection. Good grief, Sunny muttered. She flared her wings and waved at the Sandwing in the sky. It took a lot of flapping before Blaze finally gave a little start and veered around to stare at Sunny. Sunny beckoned, wanting to have this conversation on the solid ground. Blaze landed in front of her, kicking sand up Sunny's nose without noticing she'd done so. She swished her tail around and said gracefully, "Hello, I know you, don't I?" she asked. "We've met," Sunny said. "I'm one of the Dragonettes." That was all she had to say. Dragonettes of Destiny didn't sound right to her anymore. Not since she'd found out the truth about the prophecy. She wondered briefly what would happen if she just told the Sandwing sisters that the prophecy was false. Then they really wouldn't listen to us, she thought. We'd have no chance of making this work. We have to let them believe it, at least for now. "Oh, of course, the weird-looking Sandwing," Blaze said. "Right? Which necklace do you think looks better on me?" "Right. Which necklace do you think looks better on me?" "I've always liked rubies, but these emeralds are smashing too, right?" She held out two gem-studded necklaces, draped sparklingly across her claws. "Blaze," Sunny said, "do you want to go home?" The Sandwing princess looked around, blinking. "Aren't I home?" "This is a dream," Sunny said patiently. "I mean, really home. Home to the stronghold, and the desert, to sand and roasted lizards and warm sunshine every day." "Oh my," Blaze said with a wistful sigh. "I remember my room in the stronghold. They were so big and pretty, with tall windows and 3 walls. I really do look my best in full natural sunlight, you know." She spread her wings and swished them gracefully around, admiring them. Sunny managed not to roll her eyes. "So come to us. Don't keep hiding in that cold, dark fortress. If you come to the stronghold, we'll end this war and you can go home." "What?" Blaze said, tilting her head. "Right now?" "The 3rd midnight from tonight," Sunny said. "Didn't anyone give you our message?" "No one said anything about a message," said Blaze. "From the Dragonette's prophecy. How would they keep something like that from me? Well, I am offended." She thought for a moment, then brightened. "Oh, so you did pick me." "Well, wait," Sunny said. "We haven't picked any of you yet. Right, of course, you haven't announced or anything, but you're going to pick me. The only way I can go home, after all, is if my sisters are dead. Oh, how lovely. I knew you would choose me. It's very nice. I'm very nice. And doesn't everyone want a beautiful queen?" "Not at all," Sunny thought. "We're really looking for a peaceful outcome," she said. "That's our goal. And then whoever becomes queen..." "I'm going to order a new bracelet to celebrate," Blaze declared, jumping up and nearly dancing around Sunny. "And a crown. And of course I need a crown. Oh, now I really have to decide. Rubies or emeralds? I suppose I could have 2 crowns. Or lots of crowns. I'm so excited." "Blaze, stop!" Sunny said desperately. The princess wasn't listening to her at all. And Sunny didn't want to lie to her or make a show up under false pretense. The important thing is that you be there at the stronghold, and then we'll figure out who should be queen. It might not be you. Do you understand? Glacial is going to be so pleased too, said Blaze, talking right over Sunny. I'll have to convince her to let me go, but I can win arguments when I really want to. I'll tell her there's a new crown in it for her too. I think she looks best in sapphires, naturally. So, you'll be there? Sunny said, even knowing you might not be queen when it's all over? Blaze was already swanning back to the still pool. You can live in my palace if you like, she called back to Sunny. I could give you a really important job. Ooh, like helping me get dressed in the morning. Sometimes it takes me simply hours to choose the right anklet. Midnight at the stronghold, Sunny cried after her. 3 midnights from tonight. That means not tonight, not tomorrow night, but the night after that. Will you remember? Will you count right? Queen Blaze, sang the Sandwing princess as she lifted into the air. Doesn't that sound pretty? Oh dear, Sunny thought. She stepped out of the dream and stared into the blackness all around her. Will Queen Glacial listen to her? Will she be there? What if all of this falls apart and we fail? She gripped the dream visitor tightly in her claws. That's not an option. If Blaze doesn't show up, I'll fly to the Ice Kingdom and drag her back myself. In 4 days' time, either the war will be over, or we'll all be dead. End of chapter 23. 2 chapters to go. Hydration, people? It's a really beautiful day outside, by the way. Natural lighting from my window. 8 pages. Chapter 24. Night had fallen and the sky was full of dragons. That was the first thing Sunny noticed when she stepped out of the tunnel onto the desert sands. The air crackled with the sound of wing beats and the smell of fire. Dragons soared overhead like a million bats, sinuous shapes silhouetted across the moons. It was time. This was the night. All 3 Sandwing sisters would be in the same place for the first time since the war began. If they show up, Sunny thought. She glanced at the night sky again. It suddenly seems like every other Dragon Imperium might be here. And it was easier to see them than it should have been because of the mystery orb in the sky. It had gotten bigger and brighter every night, and now it was the same size as the other moons, 2 of which were full. Between the 3 of them filling the sky, it looked like another Brightest Night. A new Brightest Night, when there shouldn't have been one for another 94 years, Sunny thought. If that's not an omen, what is? She hadn't said that to her friends, though. She knew they'd roll her eyes at her, and the whole idea of destiny or omens. But still, that 3rd uncanny moon in the sky made her feel somehow a little more hopeful. Maybe, maybe things would be alright. The way she used to feel when she thought about the prophecy. Sunny climbed up to the ridge overlooking the stronghold and stood between 2 cacti, gazing down at it. It looked... The long black structure, all shadows in the moonlight, was vast and forbidding, even from a distance. And she still had nightmares about the Weirdling Tower. She couldn't imagine stepping back inside there of her own free will. But that was exactly what she was about to do. The sound of shifting sand behind her signaled the arrival of her friends, and Sunny turned to see Clay, then Tsunami, then Starflight, and Fate Speaker emerge from the tunnel. Fate Speaker glanced around at the desert, at the way the sand seemed to run all the way on the edge of the sky. She shuddered. This place is freaky, she whispered. Starflight, I don't think it's safe here. Shouldn't you stay behind? Starflight shook his head. No, I have to be here. I'm not missing this, even if I can't see it. He'd been practicing with Tamarin, the blind rainwing, all week. How to fly with someone guiding him, how to sense unexpected obstacles, and most of all, how to ask for help. Sunny slid down the hill to them and brushed Starflight's wings with hers to let him know she was there. He leaned toward her, touching the bandages on his eyes. What is that? Fatespeaker asked, staring up at the sky. Starflight, why is there a fourth moon? Sunny had already described it to him, although his explanation didn't make all that much sense to her. I think it's more like a comet than a moon, Starflight said to Fatespeaker. I remember a scroll that mentioned something like that in the sky hundreds of years ago. Maybe it circles around and only comes back every 1,000 years or so. Have you noticed the earthquakes? I think they might be caused by the comet. The ground trembled quietly under them, the way it had several times in the last few weeks. Sunny dug her claws into the sand, glancing up at the stars. But it's not going to, land on us or anything, right? Fatespeaker said, because it sure looks like it's gotten bigger. I think maybe it's going to follow us. Ooh, I think I'm maybe having a vision. Ooh, I think maybe I'm having a vision. There we go. Stop that, Starflight said, smacking her gently with his wing. You know those powers aren't real. Your visions are just your imagination. Fatespeaker shot him a very indignant look that he luckily couldn't see. I know that's what Stonemower said, but I think it does apply to me. My visions are totally real, and when this moon comet thing crushes us all, everyone will be sorry for not listening to me. Alright, he said, we'll see. Where's Glory? Tsunami asked, coming back from scouting the top of the dunes. Right behind us, said Clay, and he jumped out of the way as more dragons started coming out of the tunnel. It was strange to know that all these dragons were rainwings, but to see instead skywings and nightwings and mudwings. Glory had decided to bring 15 rainwings along, to be voices for peace if necessary, and to be dangerous venom-spitting backup if really necessary. She decided it would be safer for her dragons if they came in disguise, the camouflage scales making them anonymous bystanders. Those 3 tribes were the easiest disguises. No poisonous tails, webbed claws, or serrated claws among them. There were 5 actual Nightwings as well, plus Deathbringer, who'd refused to stay behind and let Glory go without him. But you could be useful here, Glory had argued back in the rainforest. You could keep an eye on the Nightwings for me. I'd rather keep an eye on you, he retorted, and on all the dragons you're about to go chat with, who literally want to kill you. Hey, that's how you and I met, Glory said. Maybe I'll charm them out of that idea too. I'm not sure charm is quite the word I'd use, he mused, and gotten a sweat to his nose as a thank you. But she had let him select 5 Nightwings he thought were more trustworthy than the rest, so that the tribe would be represented at the gathering. Sunny thought that was probably a good idea, although she was still having trouble forgiving the Black Dragons for all their lies. Mangrove and Grander had been left in charge of everyone while they were gone. The 5 dragonettes climbed up to stand on the ridge, surveying the stronghold below and the clouds of dragons who were already descending on it. What if they all start fighting? Fatespeaker asked suddenly. All these dragons from different tribes who've been at war for so long? What if something happens and they start trying to kill each other? Sunny curled her tail around her talons. What an awful thought! That hadn't even occurred to her. It'd be a huge battle, Deathbringer said. That might end the war itself. With hundreds more dead dragons, Sunny thought. No, that's not right. Alright, we'll stop them if we have to. Right, Tsunami said, by asking nicely, is that the plan? You'd be surprised how effective asking nicely can be, Sunny said. Maybe if you ever tried it, you'd know. Ouch, Glory said with a grin. And Tsunami glared at both of them. Well, let's get down there before anything happens, Clay suggested. Before we go, Sunny said, turning to her friends, I just want you guys to know that I love you, and I don't regret anything that's happened. I'm not mad about the fake prophecy or the talent stealing us, because without all that, I wouldn't have grown up with you, and you're more important to me than anything. You're my brothers and sisters, you're my real family. It was worth it, no matter what. Aww, Clay said, pulling her into his wings for a fierce hug. Uh-oh, Glory said, a mushy speech. We're all going to die, aren't we? She means she loves you too, Tsunami translated, dragging Sunny away from Clay so she could hug her as well. And so do I. Me too, Starflight said quietly, and they all wrapped their wings around him together. Sunny felt the sinewy curve of his shoulder pressing against her snout and smelled the herbs of the bandage on his eyes. Her Starflight. Is that enough of an answer for him? I do love him, but like a brother. I wish I felt more. There wasn't a time to say anything else. It was almost midnight. They leaped into the sky, soaring down toward the stronghold, with the Rainwings and Nightwings streaming out behind them. From above, as they approached, Sunny could see that the courtyard looked deserted. The monument to Queen Oasis was a tower of darkness, rejecting the moonlight and casting a long shadow across the sand circle around it. The soldiers' barracks were empty. The flat white stones stretched blankly, glowing as if they were made of the same stuff as the weird moon. Fire flickered from torches that studded the courtyard like claws. What if they don't come? The dragons who had flown in to watch were gathered all along the walls, wing to wing. They'd torn out the heads on spikes and dropped the gruesome trophies onto the sand below, making room for the hundreds of spectators instead. It was hard to tell which tribe was which in the silvery moonlight. All the dragons seemed to have scales of silver and black and grey, but Sunny was pretty sure she spotted sea wings sitting next to mud wings, ice wings beside sky wings, sand wings and night wings, and rain wings barely a few claws from each other. That's what I really want, Sunny thought. A period where dragons can see that we're basically the same, no matter what kind of natural weapons we hatch with, or don't hatch with for some of us. A period where it doesn't matter what tribe you're from, because you can have friends from any tribe, like us. As her gaze scanned the walls, she spotted familiar sandwing scales, and her heart squeezed happily. Thorn was here, along with Six Claws and Quibbly, and no doubt more Outclaws. Even if everything went horribly wrong, Sunny had this strange, warm feeling that her mother would care about her and want to know her, whether or not she saved the world. Sunny was surprised to find herself thinking, maybe that's better than a prophecy and a great destiny. But I do still want to save the world, right now in fact. She was on one side of Starflight, with Fate Speaker on the other. They guided him down to the sand, and Sunny heard Fate Speaker describing the scene for him in a whisper. Clay thumped down next to her and sneezed as sand went up his nose. Tsunami and Glory arrived with Deathbringer, who had been sent to the walls along with the dragons they'd brought with them. Sunny was a little surprised that Deathbringer had agreed to be that far away from Glory, but she glanced at the determined look on Glory's face and figured she wouldn't have argued with that either. Glory herself was disguised as a skywing, red and gold, scales rippling along her wings. Ironic, right? She'd said, lashing her crimson tail. Now at least I look like I belong in the prophecy. And judging by the murmurs coming from above them, the audience was thinking the same thing. The 5 dragon nets, Sunny thought. As Marozia foretold, here we are. Prophecy or no prophecy. Now, where are the queens who blaze and burn? A rumbling growl came from the dark entrance in the old palace. and Bern stepped out into the moonlight. End of chapter 24. One chapter left. Oh my gosh, this is getting exciting. We're so close to finishing. We'll be finishing it tomorrow. That stream won't be as long because there are 3 chapters to be read, and then what the frick, a prologue. I don't know if there's a snippet of the next book because this is arc 1. The first 5 books are arc 1, so I don't know if there'll be a snippet of book 6 in it. We'll see. I'll check that out later. Anyway, last chapter of the day. Chapter 25. 3 moons, Sunny thought. She's even bigger than I remember. Bern was a massive, heavy dragon with jagged scars all over her pale yellow scales, including a particularly vicious one all along her side under her left wing. A more recent wound was slashed across the snout, oozing olive green pus and dark blood. Her black eyes glittered, and her stained claws gleamed with what looked like fresh blood as she slithered across the stone toward them. So you came, she hissed. I thought the rumors couldn't possibly be true. She cast a seething look up at the hundreds of watching dragons. I hope you have a good reason for disrupting my battle plans. This war is over, Sunny said as loud as she could. There was a ripple of whispers along the walls as the words were passed along. Really, said Bern, because you say so, is that it? Because we all say so, Tsunami retorted. She flared her wings to include all the dragons above and around them. Interesting, said Bern, but I see a problem in fact. In fact, I see 2 problems flying this way. Right now. Sunny whirled and saw a mass of dragons arriving from the east. Blister and her forces, she thought hopefully. She looked north and spotted flashing silver scales. Please let that be Blaze and the sky wings and the ice wings. It's possible I won't kill you, Bern said. After all, you've brought me my sisters to kill, which is more help than any other dragons have been. Then again, you're very annoying. This is not about killing, Sunny said. The sounds of wing beats were getting closer as she turned to watch Blister land next to Queen Oasis's monument. Blister sank her talons into the sand for a moment, shooting a deadly look up at the obelisk. Blaze and Queen Glacier landed a moment later, off to Sunny's left. Blaze eyed her sisters nervously, staying close to the Ice Wing's side. Blister slithered out of the sand and paced slowly between Sunny and Clay, her snake-like gaze pinned on Bern as she circled her older sister. You're alive, Blister remarked in a cold, calm voice. That's a pity. She paused and narrowed her eyes at the dragonet. I was hoping you'd have my sisters dead before I got here. What? Bern snarled. They've chosen me as queen, not you. No way, Blaze cried, then hurriedly backed into Glacier as her sisters whipped their heads toward her. They picked me. They told me to come here. We haven't chosen any of you, Sunny said firmly, and we're definitely not killing any of you. Unless we have to, Glory observed. Feel free to provoke us. Shh, Clay said, nudging her. We have to find a peaceful solution, Sunny announced. Either you 3 decide among you peacefully who's going to be queen, or everyone else here will decide for you. No more armies, no more dead dragons. Bern barked a harsh, disbelieving laugh. I have a better idea, she snarled. First I kill my sisters, and then I kill all of you, and then I stuff you and spend the next 100 years telling your dead face about peaceful solutions. Out of the corner of her eye, Sunny saw a flurry of movement from the part of the wall where Thorn was perched. No one is going to let you do that, she said to Byrne, trying to sound much braver than she felt. In fact, Blister interjected suddenly, I've already made a gesture of peace. Didn't you get my present, Byrne? An eerie silence fell for a moment as Byrne stared down at her. I was thinking, Blister hissed into the stillness, that this war has gone on too long. I thought if I sent you a gift, something I know you've always wanted, but perhaps we could mend fences and reunite the family. She bared her teeth at the palace entrance, and Sunny spotted Smolder just inside the doorway where she'd first seen him. Aha! Byrne snarled. That was from you. Smolder, bring me the box. No. Don't argue with me, she growled, and he vanished into the palace. A gift? A gesture of peace? Reuniting the family? That doesn't sound like Blister. Sunny flicked her tail anxiously. Are she really willing to stand down and let Byrne be queen? Smolder returned a few moments later, carrying the box that Sunny had seen on the top floor of the Weirdling Tower when she'd been chained up there. As he set it down in front of Byrne, it let out a malevolent hiss. Byrne, be careful, Sunny said. She had a horrible sinking feeling in her chest, and she really didn't like the look on Blister's face. I think this might be a trick. Of course it is. Of course it is, Byrne said. Especially it's from my clever sister. My clever little sister, sending me a present, thinking I'll open it without any suspicion. As if I don't recognize the hiss of a dragonbite viper when I hear it. It's not a trick, Blister said coolly. I know you've always wanted one for your collection. Dragonbite viper? Fate Speaker whispered to Starflight. Rare and deadly, he whispered back. The only snake inferior that can kill a dragon with one bite. He shifted nervously on his talons. If that's really what's in there, I hope that's really not what's in there. I hope that's not really what's in there. Well, the trick's on you, Byrne said. She sank her claws into the top of the box and ripped it off with a vicious tearing sound. Fast as lightning, her talons shot into the box and lifted out a writhing, hissing rope of scaly fury. The snake's head was pinned between Byrne's claws so he couldn't bite her. Its whole body wriggled and lashed like the eel attacking in the sea wing prison. I know your sick, twisted mind. You thought this would kill me, Byrne snarled at Blister. So it'll be very poetic when it kills you instead. She took a step toward her sister and then stopped suddenly, looking down. Oh, Blister said, I got you too. Did I leave that part out? A second dragonbite viper lunged out of the box and sank its teeth into Byrne's ankle. Its venomous fangs slid like shards of ice right between her scales. The screaming seemed to come from everywhere at once. Blaze was probably screaming the loudest, shrieking and flapping her wings as if she were the one who'd been bitten. All along the walls, dragons were pushing and yelling and leaning in to get a better look or taking off into the sky to get as far away from the snakes as possible. Byrne stabbed one foot down on the second snake, crushing it, but it was too late. Black veins were shooting up her leg and spreading through her scales. What's happening? Starflight asked, reaching out for Sunny. Sunny touched his wing with her own. There was a second snake in the box, and it bit Byrne. This was Blister's plan. The one I overheard her talking about in the mirror. Send Byrne something she really wants and figure out a way for it to kill her. Clever and evil and sinister. She looked over at Blister, who was watching her sister's death throes with an enthralled, smug smile on her face. We can't let her be queen. All of Pyria would be in danger if Blister were queen. But what else can we do? She's not going to accept Blaze on the throne instead, and it looks like this is the end for Byrne. Burn let out a furious roar and collapsed to the ground with a crash that shook the earth. Her wings twitched and convulsed as if they were possessed. She clawed at the air, reaching for Blister. "I'll kill you," she snarled. "I'll claw that. It hurts. Stop it. Stop that," she roared, howling her agony at the sky. Her ankle was entirely black now, the claws curling in and shriveling. The venom marched up toward her heart, fast and unstoppable. "Is there something we can do?" Sunny asked. "Please, Starflight?" Starflight shook his head mutely. Burn rolled onto her back, wheezed as the black tendrils looped together in the center of her chest. Her arm flopped to the ground, her talons opened, and the first snake slithered loose onto the stone of the courtyard. "The Viper!" Blaze shrieked. "It's going to kill us!" Pandemonium erupted along the walls. "Fly!" screamed several dragons. "Kill it!" roared others, "or it will kill us all!" Blister was in the air already, hovering over them and watching gleefully as the snake shot toward the dragonets. It moved like lightning, zigzagging across the stones faster than flight. "Up, up, up!" Tsunami shouted, shoving at her friends. "Starflight!" Fate Speaker screamed. Sunny whirled and saw Starflight stumble forward, his wings unfolding but slowly, too slowly. His talons reached out, trying to orient himself. The snake was nearly at his feet already. Sunny and Fate Speaker reached for him at the same time, grabbing his forearms and trying to lift him bodily into the sky, but they were both small, and Starflight was heavy and confused and unwieldy. His tail whacked the ground, and his wings nearly overbalanced them all as they tried to struggle into the air. The Viper hissed, and it sounded as if it was coming from inside Sunny's skull. "It's going to get one of us," Sunny realized with a jolt of horror. "Let it be me. Please don't let Starflight die." And then something hit her, like a boulder slamming into all of them. Sunny, Fate Speaker, and Starflight tumbled backward. A tangle of wings and tails catapulted across the courtyard. Sunny was flung loose from the others and skidded across the sand, crashing finally into the Queen Oasis obelisk. She shoved herself back up, dizzy and disoriented. What had happened? Had someone pushed them? Did the snake fight anyone? Was Starflight alright? Her head took a moment to clear, and then she realized there was a dragon lying on the stone where she'd been standing a moment before. The dragon who'd slammed into them. The dragon who'd saved their lives. It was Clay. Oh my god, that's the end of the chapter! Another freaking cliffhanger. Sutherland, you are too good at this. Well, holy fudge. Tune in tomorrow. The stream will be way earlier if you look at my schedule, because my sister has a meeting from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. every Wednesday. So I can't stream at that time. So I gotta stream earlier, which is like 4:30 p.m. my time. Which is GTM +2. But yeah. Yeah. That's it for today. I really promise you I never intend to end them purposely on cliffhangers, the streams. It just happens, okay? But yeah. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Hydrate, don't dehydrate. Treat others like you want them to treat you. Be kind, don't be a dick. Yeah, that's our diet. Bye.